Welcome to BeerNet Radio. Listen to on every continent except Antarctica.
Hello. Welcome to BeerNet Radio.
Today's not one of those days.
And emphasize the day part because it's only one. But that's cool. It's Friday.
Not fun at all. So, and is Harry's not going to join us today, or is he?
He's flying back from California.
From Cali?
Yeah.
You know, he's too old to look at a calendar, Sam. So apparently, he's like, I'm going to be at the gate at, 11:55. I'm like, okay, well. But anyway. We're drinking without you, man. So we'll edit him in later,
Nice. How often are you guys doing the podcast? Are you finding it's like can you click to see openings? Is it going up? Is it working well?
Yeah, I think it's, we don't like the majority of our listenership is listenership. So, if you look on a YouTube video, that's just a fraction of what we get because we got Apple and Spotify. I think those are our two main platforms. Yeah. Harry says it's building, so.
Yeah. He's really like, this is his, project now. He loves editing. And so he's trying to drive more people to watch the podcast. Mm-hmm. And so he's got like new thumbnails and he has sound effects and, little extras for the YouTube channel. So it has slowly steady.
Good. Because I think the opportunity to be more listening than viewing when you think of the audience that are commuting to where they're going in the beverage industry and the salespeople who are now back on the road in their cars. I would think there'd be way more listener growth in the long run than viewer growth, but I could be wrong.
Totally.
No, you're totally right. I think Harry just wants it all.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, I'm here. I'm watching all of y'all from my underground secret lair where I watch all beer people at all times.
Speaking of wanting it all, Sam, what shall we open?
I let you choose your own journey, Jen. What do you guys want to drink? So did you say you already had the squall? You started without me?
No, I gotta taste the squall.
Let's do it.
What is the squall? What's the squall?
So Citrus Squall will be our first new core beer, like coast to coast Dogfish core beer release in over 2 years. Wow. And we've been working on the recipe for over 2 years. I don't know if we got something we can decant it into or not.
I sure do.
Yeah. And so basically it started as, we've been making beer cocktails forever, at Dogfish, but this was started as a project called Tupelia, TWO-PEEL-YA. And basically, phonetically like tequila, but Tupelia. And the whole idea was we've been doing like fruited IPAs since 97 with April Hop. And we know Ballast Point for a while did a lot with fruited IPAs. And we said, well, we don't want to make a fruited IPA, but what can we do? Let's try and envision equal DNA from the cocktail side and the beer side, not just add fruit to an IPA. Mm-hmm. So for what that means for this, so that you get equal character of a cocktail and equal character of a beer. So it's fermented not just with a beer yeast, but fermented with a tequila yeast.
Oh, cool. I didn't know there was such thing as a tequila yeast.
Yep. It's like there's a champagne yeast that's separate from, a beer yeast. So it's fermented with tequila yeast and ale yeast. It's the fermentable sugars are grain, blue agave, and grapefruit juice. And then on top of that, there's also the addition of peels of lime, orange, and grapefruit. So it's got all these different layers of citrus character from peels, really low IBUs, probably the same IBUs as, Miller Lite or Coors Light, around 10. But it's getting the pleasant bitterness that it has is actually coming from the pith of the peel instead of coming from hop bitterness. So drink it. Let's talk about it. Cheers. Good to see you, Jordan. Jen.
Cheers.
Good to be here.
Yeah.
Aromatically, are you getting Paloma tequila notes as much as you have beer, as you have both the aromatics and the taste?
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, it's not to your point, I would taste this and say It's more than a beer.
Yeah. And it's 8% too.
It's 8%. We're saying, how can we make something like dry complexity of a cocktail, but sessionability of a beer that you'd want to have it on tap?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. So when you're talking about the peels, do you put the peels in and you let them sit, or they don't go into the fermentation tank or anything, right? Or
they go in late boil, because we do want those. We're sterilizing, like kind of end of boil where you put finish hops. But then we're adding the puree, the orange, the grapefruit juice at the start of fermentation, because we want the yeast that's eating both. We want the tequila yeast and the beer yeast to be eating all three sugar sources: blue agave nectar, the grapefruit and barley sugars.
cool. Because I feel like I do get like that bitterness of like a lemon or lime rind. I get a little bit of that.
Yeah. And it's not, so, we're not trying to, it has some Cascade hops, because as you know, that's like the quintessential grapefruit character hop that, signature hop for Sierra Pale. And that's really the only hop that we use in this is Cascade to further drive, the grapefruit notes. But again, pretty low BUs. That's the golden ale, sort of more the spirit animal for this than IPA. And if you look at least Nielsen data, I'm not sure about IRI right now, but what we saw was the golden ale category up about 10%. And I think that one of the drivers are pals over at Firestone Walker with 805. But other than IPAs, I think golden ales is the only style segment that's up. And so we're like, that's cool. And I bet we could do something that has Dogfish's culinary DNA routes, our cocktail DNA in it, and it still would fit within the golden style category. Cool. So that's where this will live.
Is this your biggest bet for next year? Because I know you guys have a few. Obviously, you have a few new launches. So is this your number one focus?
If you think of a new liquid that's on the beer side, yes. Okay. So this will be right up there, with 60 Minute kind of equal as a priority. And in many markets, it'll actually be the number one draft initiative.
Really interesting.
When it launches in sometime in February, and then it'll be number two, like single serve can 19.2 behind 90 Minute.
Yeah. And is it priced above 60?
No, it'll actually be core beer priced, which,
oh, wow.
When you think of some other national brands that are really growing strong in 19.2s that are higher ABV, that also are delivering value at that higher price range. 90 Minute's been up at that price range for 20-something years, but, we're pretty excited that as we dialed in this recipe, we're able to sell it at same prices as 60. At ABV.
Nice.
And despite it being kind of a hybrid between beer and cocktail, it's still gonna sit next to beer on the shelf.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Golden ale category, 6-packs, 12-ounce 6-packs, draft and 19.2s.
Cool.
Yeah.
Great.
This is great. I can have a few of these.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jordan. We're super proud of it. 2 years, it started as Tequila. We traveled a bunch of our different locations. We had our coworkers that's an interesting name, but we want something that's not just phonetically a take on tequila.
You think the TTB would go after you for that?
Yeah, they were like, So we first did a beer called Squall, which was a very early New England style IPA, back when 750 mils were a thing. Oh, so I think we first released Dogfish Squall 15 years ago, which was dry hopped with Cascade. So that's how it's still related to this recipe. Cascade's still the centerpiece hop, as it was with the original IPA version of Squall. But now the only thing that's in Citrus Squall that has the signature from the original Squall is Cascade hop, and we built everything around it to be equal inputs from a Paloma cocktail and a golden ale.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very cool.
Because I was going to ask, how does Hazy Squall, because that's something you're kind of like testing next year, right? How does that?
Yeah. So that'll be more akin to the original Squall IPA. So that will only be in the Atlantic Division in our backyard, and that whereas Citrus Squall will be a national.
Gotcha.
And I heard you guys are going to do that, that Squall heavy music video nationally on TV. When does that hit? And what's the media spend behind that?
On the Super Bowl.
Natch.
No, I mean, we had a blast with the music video, and it was fun to do like the radio station that plays classic rock and go on the morning show and introduce our song. And they played it on the show that a lot of my coworkers listened to for music. And that was pretty heartwarming for our band, which is one person from IT, one person from logistics, our head of design, graphic design, Brian Selders, our brewer, and I. So 5 departments are represented in one brewery band.
That's funny. That's crazy. That, to Jordan's point, it is too bad that the beer business isn't fun anymore. It's great that you still have so much fun with it after all these years, one of the OGs, right? So
27 years. And tonight I rented a pontoon boat and 45 Dogfish coworkers, the people that make surfboards out of wood in Maine called Grain Surfboards, and Numero Group, an awesome record label from the Midwest. They just did a really beautiful box set for Blondie. We're all getting on the boat together and going to the pub and doing events for our Analog Go-Go Music Festival this weekend.
Oh, cool.
Very cool.
1,000 people here at the brewery tomorrow for that.
Wow. It's always this time?
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Okay.
We always do Analog Go-Go in the fall, so it'll be great. We'll have all kinds of indie record stores outside with beer stations next to them. It's great, holiday shopping and drinking occasion.
It's always nice to shop when you're slightly buzzed, It's nice for the buyer, it's nice for the seller.
Right. So, my buddy, that reminds me, Jen, my buddy Nicola, his family owns Italy, the big retail guy. Italy, and they have all these stores around America now, all around the world, Italy, of course, and they don't have those little things that alarms that go off if you try to steal shit, gates as you leave. And Italian is his native language, but he speaks English pretty well. I'm like, Nicola, why don't you have the gates there? And he's like, because we encourage people to drink while they shop. And I'm like, yeah. He's like, and so sometimes they steal things when they're drunk and they shop. And I'm like, yeah, so why don't you have the stuff up? He's like, because it's such a good customer, Sam, that they usually wake up laying in bed next to the things they stole, and they feel so bad they come back sober and buy more stuff.
That's a good dude hilarious. Right there.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
So it's okay for me to racial profile my own people.
Yeah, I think Calagione might be Italian, right?
I get a pass.
Oh, that's funny. All right. Well, before we move on to maybe tasting some of the cocktail stuff, or I'll let Jay, you pick what we do next. But I'm curious, do you expect the pace of innovation to kind of slow in the coming years? Because I feel like that's kind of what I've heard in the circuit.
Yeah, I do feel like the retail and distributor tier is politely asking, call it top 100 craft that rely on multi-state distribution, to either be more judicious with the number of craft beer innovations they ask to be prioritized in 3-tier distribution, or they're inviting their craft beer suppliers to think about interesting launches in the beyond beer space in addition to their beer.
Interesting.
So they're basically letting us know, hey, the customer right now is saying, but the retail customer, because of the consumer customer, is saying that the set of indie craft beer in our stores is the right size. And we're trying to fight just to keep it the right size and not have it go down. So they're saying, we're not saying no, we're saying you pick which of your young you kill on that shelf. And if we think you're an awesome brand and awesome supplier, bring us stuff that could go on the other shelf where we are getting more space, which is beyond beer. It's kind of the message that I'm hearing out there as I talk to big and small brewers. What I'm hearing from a lot of small brewers is, fuck 3-tier distribution growth right now. I need to make sure I'm having as much engagement and energy in my own wholly owned tasting rooms because I'm hearing from my distributor partners, if I'm not going to do Beyond Beer, they don't want more from me, call it the 1 state, 3 state, 5 state indie craft brewer. I see a lot of retrenching from them to their own wholly owned locations right now. I don't know what you guys see about in that realm.
Yeah. I was going to ask you a question real quick, and it's, somebody like you're going to innovate no matter what the retailers are asking for. So if they say, we're probably good on beer, but we could use more Beyond Beer, does that drive you to work more on canned cocktails innovation? Or are you just kind of saying, I'm going to innovate in beer, I might innovate in canned cocktails, and kind of wherever my mind takes me?
I think it's a great question, right? I'd say yes, we're spending probably a little bit more energy, resources, and time, including myself, I think with my cocktail hat on than my beer hat. It's still primarily a beer hat, but maybe it was 20% cocktail hat a year and a half ago. Now it's 40% cocktail hat. And, but what I am doing is that the energy for beer, I'm less focused on, we need to have a bunch of new things that go out to wide distro, and more focused on, hey, it's okay if this thing that we spend a shit ton of time on is something that only gets released in our own properties or just in the Atlantic division, because I know we can't bring to our national sales force a ton of new Dogfish beer innovations, but I know our natural energy is shark's gonna, keep swimming forward or it dies if it's not swimming forward. So creatively, we're still swimming, but we're just sometimes choosing little estuaries to swim in for certain projects instead of giant oceans, and selling the fun stuff locally. Like tomorrow at Analog A Go-Go, with the Numero group, they sent us, we asked them to make a playlist of songs that were more rock and more folk, and then we listened to them. The brewers in Rehoboth listened to one, and the brewers in Milton the other. We designed a beer, listened to the playlist. It will get sold in a wooden record crate stamped with our Numero and Dogfish logos, come with a record, and the expectation is you listen to one side for 22 minutes while you drink the beer that was designed to go with that side, and the other side you flip it over and you drink the other beer. Imagine bringing that idea to our national sales force and saying, get that in and tell that story to every chain outlet across America. So we're being judicious and still doing really storyful, offsetted things, but deciding they don't all need to be swing for the fence, volume plays, because that's not what our distributor retailer partners would want right now. And so you got to balance that against but that doesn't mean that the Dogfish customer that grew up expecting those kind of deep, collaborative, story-rich concepts, we still need to do those. That's who we are.
Right.
But we just can't bring them all everywhere.
Right. No, that makes sense. Yeah. I mean, and to your point about, having more innovation at the tap room, definitely hearing that for both smaller and larger craft brewers. The smaller guys, obviously it's profitable for them, to sell over the bar. But then for the larger guys, even like, Boston, even AB's craft, they want to scale in a way that makes sense and is going to hold. So, that is, we do hear that for sure. It's interesting to me too, where that used to be a pressure, well, it still is a pressure point between distributors and brewers about what you have at your tap room, right? Because then the distributor doesn't get a cut of it. But to your point, they have so many SKUs. I think it's less of a big deal to them now. They know it's not a ton of volume, the distributors, and they're focused on other things right now. They got bigger fish to fry. So they're making some interesting alliances too over that.
So interesting alliances. Well, first, I totally agree. It's kind of like craft is always these kids that are sitting over on a corner, like hitting each other with baseball bats, corner in their diapers, this new thing. And they're kind of like, hey, when one of you gets good at swinging that bat, come over and bring it over to the big leagues of 3-tier distribution. But cool, what you're doing over there with those wiffle ball bats. And I think that's kind of true right now. But now they're saying, keep doing that cool shit in your tap rooms with your wiffle ball bats, but maybe look at bringing big bats that are in the Beyond Beer space towards us right now, that more so than traditional craft beers. Because the other thing is, there's so many awesome tasting room breweries that do such great, super fresh, interpretations of what we know is the number one beer style, IPAs. And it's great watching the segments fluctuate from hazy to cold to whatever that we want to call the IPA trend du jour, but it's still the IPA monolithic category. And 3-tier does that really well, top 20, but also tasting room breweries do that really well. And I don't think too many distributors are that excited, to get national, another new hazy that's not well innovated. And frankly, that's why, for example, where we've been making IPAs and hazy IPAs versions of unfiltered for 2 decades, but right now we're like, you know what? We think there's some white space in a unique beer cocktail hybrid that was playing golden instead of here's another cool logoed hazy IPA.
Right. I'm curious too, talking about IPA and Beyond Beer. You mentioned your hat is 40% canned cocktails, right? And then the rest of it is beer. Is that kind of what the business breaks out like now, Sam? Are you guys like 40% canned cocktail and 60% beer?
We're not there yet, but my hat's off to the Boston Beer like sales organization. Jenny, who runs our Dogfish brand team, Elizabeth, who runs the canned cocktail team. Because it is more, we see way more tailwinds in that category than in traditional craft beer right now.
Yeah.
And because not many people can say, hey, we've been perfecting cocktail recipes for 2 decades. Is there another brand that can say that? That's had a crowler machine for a long, long time and has been canning cocktails for this long. So we know that we're really good at this, and we know that it's the moment when the kind of cream rises to the top of this category, when all eyes are on this category. So we are extremely focused on it, and it is going to be the growth driver for Dogfish next year as our canned cocktail part of our portfolio. And when I say I have 40% of my hat on canned cocktails and 60 on craft beer, that's also thinking about our Sam brand and thinking about beer in general. When I think about the health of beer, and beer, as you know, we're not wavering. That's the heart of our company, our middle name.
Right.
So my meetings are not just about Dogfish and my innovations. Like next month I'm going up. Megan Parisi, who's one of our great long tenured brewers, who's at our Jamaica Plain Sam Adams Brewery, did this amazingly flavorful 3% ABV English mild. And I was like, that was fucking awesome, Megan. Let's make an imperial mild, like 4.8 version of that.
Imperial.
That's awesome.
We're doing an imperial. Hers was called Mild Thing, THANG. So we're doing milder thing, like a 4.8 ABV imperial mild. With all these different tree syrups. We said we just won't do maple, but what else can we suck out of a tree and put into a malty mild? And,
that's awesome.
So yeah, I'm having as much fun working on, with the Sam brand team as I am the Dogfish team. But I'd say I'm mostly focused on spirits-based RTD, foolproof spirits, like the whiskey we're releasing tomorrow that's aged with the shavings from wooden cedar surfboards called Grain to Glass. So that's one of the best whiskeys we've ever made. We're releasing tomorrow. So foolproof spirits-based RTDs and beer, I'm focused on. Erica, the amazing tea team, they got Twisted Tea dialed in. That is our biggest growth engine. I'm frankly just giving them high fives and thumbs up. I'm not doing much on tea innovation. I got to spend a little time in Canada playing with our friends in the THC tea world.
Got to keep an eye on that,
Yeah. So, but I'm not really spending much time on that. Matt and the Truly team are awesome. I've had some interaction with the spirits-based side of the Truly world that we're doing. I'm excited for that because they're so complementary. One's more of a vodka seltzer play, whereas Dogfish is more of a full-on, full flavored 7 ABV cocktail play. So those are the 2 areas I'm mostly focused on. What do you guys want to drink next?
Well, I guess we should drink.
Jay, they call. And by the way, Jen, when did you start calling Jordan Jay? And Jordan, do you also call Jen Jay?
No, I did not call her Jay. And when did that start, Jen?
I don't know.
A while ago.
Yeah, I mean,
I love it.
Probably 4 or 5 years ago.
Probably. I'm just lazy, I'm sorry, I'm efficient.
Yeah.
That's what I call Harry H.
Yeah.
I mean, Sam, I should probably call you S.
Yeah.
We don't talk quite enough for me to call you S, but from
Well,
now
my
on,
name's
you're
still
S.
just one. My name's one syllable. You're trying to
Right.
save time for these multi-syllable names.
True. Jordan.
Yeah, when I first started, I think Jen was already calling Harry H.
Was
Yeah.
I?
Yeah. And so naturally Jay just followed after that. And then once I was Jay, I couldn't, call her Jay.
No.
Right.
No.
It would be too
We got
meta.
the Jay origin story. We got that on tape now.
Yeah.
Right? The murky origin story. It came from a squall. Anyway, Jay, what are we drinking next?
I guess let's put a dent in this walking run.
Walking run.
That's the biggest one I see next.
Run.
So let's go for it.
All right, let's do it.
So the props to our design team. So
Yeah.
the story of this. I'll give you I got the origin story of Jay. Origin story of this is Mariah was like, I was like, hey Mariah, can you put like this little corner of the cabin up in Dogfish Head, Maine? You mind if I put a brewing system over there in the winter when we never go up there? She's like, all right, yeah. And so I started designing and ordering, and my brewer friend Brian starts helping me, and then she doesn't look at the bills, and then we spent half as much as we started Dogfish Brewery, the whole company in 1995, putting in a 2-barrel brew house, 1-barrel brew house with 2-barrel fermenters, all glycol controlled, in our cabin in Maine. So she's like, oh my God, you better use that brewery you just put there. But it's beautiful. It overlooks the river that Dogfish Head, the jut of land is on. And one of the first beer we brewed is an homage to the OG Maine craft brewers. And when I say that, I mostly just, let's give a toast to Alan Pugsley. I don't know, I'm sure some of your viewers remember Alan, who's helped to start Shipyard. He's helped to start Gary's. He helped to start Magic Hat. He's kind of the Johnny Appleseed of New England craft brewing ales. And he had a relationship with a brewery called Ringwood over in England. And that's where the famous yeast that a lot of the New England brewers started, called Ringwood yeast, came from. It's kind of polarizing and often throws a lot of diacetyl buttery notes. Great brewers can tame it. So this was an homage to like mid-'80s microbrewed pale ales.
Very specific.
The walking run. And the name comes from, we sent it to Paul, our head designer, from Brian. And Brian's like, oh, that's awesome. I'm going to drop some at your house. Hey, where do you live? He's like, 218 Walking Run. It's like, literally your name street's Walking Run? It's fucked up. Which is it, And so we're like, it's kind of a funny concept for a beer. So we introduced this, speed walker, and the speakers that are catching on fire. It's so fast.
The fast walk run.
Yeah.
That's funny. What's up with the Dia de los Muertos mask? Or
I don't know. There's just so much going on there. I don't know why he's got that face.
Just tell the truth. Your designer was high.
Okay. So we got some of our stuff sent down from, Canada
Accidentally. I think my next shipment should actually accidentally be from Canada.
Yes. So just crisp,
Yep.
woodsy, rustic, almost like a farmhouse, but a Maine farmhouse, not a Belgian farmhouse ale,
It's good.
That's
Good.
great.
Easy drinking for sure.
Yep,
Makes
pretty
you
low, about 5.6. I was just in London, and you'd say 5.6 pretty low, and they're just like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Right.
We
We drink beer like water.
Oh my God, we visit like 6 breweries, and there's usually on the you go into a brew house or a brewery and there's 16 on tap. There's 2 that are over 5% in London.
They're imperial milds.
Yeah, they're more playing that.
Nice. That's cool. So is this only in 16s then?
Yep.
Okay.
Not even draft, but even though it started as in our own locations during COVID, people really fell in love with it. Said we should distribute it. Again, we decided not to clog up a lot of our distributors with it in terms of another priority. So it's only like Atlantic, so call it New York down to North Carolina distribution.
Cool. Is it like a C-store play or no?
No, I'd say it's more indie, indie accounts.
Right.
We're not trying to spend a lot of our chain energy on get this in. we have some awesome chain partners. There's many, but I think of a Total or a Wegmans that are excited for this. But we're not focusing on it as a chain initiative. It's more indie, I would say.
Cool. All right, solid. I think you're next, since you have that Maine system and you need to fill it probably with Maine-like things. There's so many graveyards out in Maine. You do something about that. There's so many old, random side of the road, ramshackle graveyard plots out there. So
give me a beer. Give us a beer idea. What do you got?
I will. I'm gonna think on this. Jordan, I'm gonna put you on it. Jordan comes up with the funniest names. He's our minted namer.
What would it be?
You have to give me a second though on this one.
You can call it dead ass. That's what you can call it.
Yeah. Nothing's really coming to mind when I'm thinking about Maine graveyard beers. So
Stephen Kang. Let's see.
New England graveyards. Let's see. There's red ales were popular back in New England. The red pills are coming. The Pilsners. Not enough red pilsners. There's red ales. Why isn't there red pilsners?
That's a good
So
question.
what do you guys think about pilsners? Let's talk about that. Why is everybody drinking pilsners in the tasting rooms and at the breweries? There's the saying in wineries, it takes a lot of, IPA to make good wine. There's the saying in craft breweries, it takes a lot of pilsners to make IPA.
Yeah. Because they're tasty. Like you can make them tasty, right? Like a Czech style pill has a lot of flavor and it's 4%. Thank God. It's like drinking water, kind of. Water with the edge taken off.
But why is it that you guys think that it does so great at the local tasting rooms, but when you bring it into this sort of big retailer 3-tier world, it doesn't seem to be gaining a lot of energy if you look at the IRI deals?
Yeah.
I think it's calories, Sam.
Yeah.
And the calories may or may not be listed, but
for the pills?
Yeah, for the pills on a craft brand. But I think that's why you see it in the tasting room, because in the tasting room there's craft after craft after craft.
And they're not looking at calories in that environment.
Yeah, they know what they're doing when they walk into a tasting room. But when you're in the grocery store and you're thinking, okay, well maybe I'll get like a 4-pack of strong IPA, and then in the meantime I'll have something light with, I know what the calories are, and then the IPA is more of like a treat. So
yeah. But it's a 12-pack of seltzer, a 12-pack of Mick Ultra that they know the color.
Right. Yeah. And it's cheaper, so that's a different competitive set. But, there's brands like Stone Buenaventura that's doing pretty good. Right. So
is that straightforward Pilsner? Yeah.
Oh, sorry. It's a Mexican style lager, but it's a lager. Right.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
But yeah, I'm surprised it's not bigger than it is, but I'm starting to hear things that is the next big thing, but who knows? We always hear that whatever is the next big thing. We'll see if it comes to pass. But Jay, I think you're right about that. Like the, what you'll have at the tap room versus what you'll have at the grocery store. But I think it's just the competitive set, right? Like I see it as a lager, and why would I pay more for a lager when I can buy Mick Ultra or whatever?
Yeah.
I don't know.
So as you guys are coming out of the season of writing about and actually being at a lot of the planning meetings for next year and see what the innovations that are coming, and we also see that 21 to 30-year-old drinker that I don't know what percentage of the alcohol they're drinking in America, but it's the majority, and that they grew up with Sierra Pale in their parents' fridge and Dogfish 60 and Stone IPA. So it's like, oh, that's what my parents drank. If each of you are running a $200 million campaign for a big brewery that wanted to get a 25-year-old excited about craft beer, what would your messaging be? What liquid would you make them, and what would your billboard say?
Jay, you can go first.
Thanks, Jen. I would still lean towards an IPA, because I think a lot of people just love a good IPA. It might be one or two, but it's like a guaranteed one or two for that consumer. You
mean one or two in a session drinking?
Yeah,
or one or two. Yeah, a
guaranteed one or two. I think somebody like Maine Beer Co. How they do the
Big glass bottle.
Yeah, big glass bottle. I mean, it's giving that to distributors is almost like a wine brand, like one single bottle that they have to. I think I would kind of try and do something like that where it's just find one at a time, and like, okay, this is good. This is a good brand, and try to kind of go in that direction.
And the package is more innovative maybe than the liquid, or at least the style Kala, with the rough wine paper, elegant, volume of white versus elegant, font, verbiage on the package, not a lot of design.
Yeah, no, you just know, okay, I recognize that, and that's one of the only beers I know that, like, I can tell by the bottle and the label.
Yeah.
And I know I'm gonna get a pretty good beer. So that's what I would do if I was a craft brand. I would rip off. I would rip
off Maine Beer Co.
All right, listeners, get at it. Jen, what would you do?
You heard it here first. Hopefully you never open a brewery, Jordan. I'm sure that you won't after having worked at BBD. No, so kind of like what Jordan was saying, or in what you were kind of picking up on, Sam, I think, and by the way, I know nothing about 25-year-olds. It's been a hot minute, except that they supposedly drink less, which I think is true. Yeah. I would lead with packaging, but I would do it like completely different. I would get like even more sustainable packaging, whatever that means.
Yeah.
And maybe different, I mean, not just the graphics, but like the shape, or if you can actually see through like obviously you can see through bottles, but a see-through can, like, I don't know why isn't more truly innovative packaging. And I think that's going to be the next wave of innovation that sticks, like truly innovative packaging. And I know it costs a ton of money, right? And there's already an infrastructure at retail, like, you have this space and these go here, the 4-packs go here and the 16 ounces go here. But I mean, if I were a 25-year-old who didn't drink a lot, if something looked extra sustainable to me and very different was eye-catching, that's where that would actually get me to pick it up.
Yeah.
And also, I don't think there's enough, I mean, you guys do a good job of this, but there's not enough brands with personality out there. Like, I always say, like, what is it? Liquid Death. Obviously, that's been a huge smash. In no small part because it's a funny brand. Like, it's funny. Like the very concept is inherently funny. It's like, it's water. So
and you can tell their ad. Jen, I agree. You can tell their ad concepts haven't been focus grouped to death to liquid death. That's too risky. That'll offend this person. Do you guys see the one where they did the blind tasting? It's like someone's having like pureed shrimp juice.
Oh yes, I did. That's right.
Do you prefer the death water or pureed tuna fish? And like,
it's amazing.
I like the death water.
It's great. It is great. And then they had the voting one with the fanny pack, and that was great. Because murder your thirst, because it's illegal to drink water in line here. So it was good. Yeah. No.
But there needs to be more risk taking and unique brand voices.
Yeah.
And I wonder how much how the lack of that, how much it's driven by how quick to be offended, critique, and woke or whatever.
True. It
is if you do something that isn't standing out, or is it, outstanding, and something they're gonna do. Super judgy moment right now.
Oh sure. Oh yeah, for sure. And if you're a big company, it's much harder to get away with. Well, yes and no, but yeah, definitely. So we still have.
Let's drink a cocktail.
Let's do it.
The cocktail. So are you guys okay? So Dogfish canned cocktails, are they still currently the number 6 RTD brand overall? Is that correct?
I think I heard somewhere recently that one of the massive liquor brands just did a distribution drive this month and went up to overtook us. We were 6 like a week and a half ago. And this category is really young, but there are certain brands that particularly you think of whiskey brands that their bigger push is more in front of the holidays. And with us, with crushes and sort of brighter flavors, our biggest push will be, spring and summer.
Yeah.
So, I think we'll be, but I should also say that we just starting November 1st, which is 2 days ago, started a big spend here in the Atlantic, right in our backyard, New York, New Hampshire, Virginia. We're going hard with spends in those 3 markets digitally for a holiday concept. So I think, we'll see ourselves click back up. We're on forecast. It's just that there's been a surge for a couple brands that the timing their distribution drives. And that's how young this industry is. You can change positions with a month's focus with your distributor. So you see like the top 7, 8, 9 brands kind of shifting those positions right now. I think next spring and summer is the equivalent of the biggest seltzer summer. It's my feeling for spirits-based RTD. Where it's like,
that's right. Yeah, we've talked about this. And why? Why is that? That next summer is going to be the breakout summer for RTD.
Because I feel like this was the year that it was like retailers were like, holy shit, this is a trend, not a fad. Mm-hmm. And we have to figure out how we're going to display this. What are we going to call this area of the store? What percentages are going to put the cold box versus on a warm shelf? So I feel like this year was like oh shit, I think we get it. And next year is going to be the really well executed year where the top retailers and distributors like, we believe in it. And this is how it's going to come to life in front of the customer. And it's going to be the big surge year of volume, because I feel like all 3 tiers will be synchronized. That's going to be the growth engine for the warm season of 2023. So I feel like that's also means that next year will be the year that the leaders will be established and the long tail will also be established. I don't think it's going to be a 2-horse race at the end of next summer the way seltzer was, because I think this drinker isn't as brand specific as they are cocktail concept, basket of cocktail concept interested. I think they're going to drink more broadly across concepts, maybe from same brand families. But I definitely see a world where the 10 lead horses by when the dust settles after next Labor Day, we're saying, okay, this is an established category with 10-ish horses that are sustainable,
as like brand families.
Yeah.
Different, distinct. Yeah. Are you guys going to do you think you will be competing with like the Jack and Coke RTD, or is that just going to be a completely different consumer set?
I think the consumer's not going to be thinking about it the way we are, you, me, us industry folk. Whereas I think we've kind of just, right now we picked these 2 ABV lanes, I think. One, let's call it the vodka seltzer lane that we all know is going to thrive. And the other is the real cocktail lane that we think is going to thrive. And so, for Boston Beer, we know that they're complementary, and we know that we can execute against Truly Vodka Seltzer as a concept right next to Dogfish Head cocktail, one at 5, one at 7, different price point. But I think those 2 categories are going to happen, but I don't think the customer so much is going to think about them as 2 categories. What do you guys think? You guys are analyzing, sifting, and writing about this more than you ever thought you would.
Right.
Jen?
I was gonna I don't know. I agree that retailers and distributors are going to put more focus behind it than ever next year. More of them are getting them, right? And it makes sense. And I think it'll do well. I was at the, I'm going to call myself out a bit. Jordan knows this. You may know this, Sam.
Yes.
Despite my many, many, many years of flying, I'll never get used to it. And it still freaks me out. It's a control freak thing. And so I have to have a few drinks before I go on a plane. And it doesn't matter the time of the day, right? Like if my flight's at 8 a.m., I'm having 2 drinks before I get on that plane, because I literally feel like I'm facing death every time
you purposely get to the airport earlier though, to belly up to a bar for 20 minutes and power drink 2 drinks before you get in line,
so that I can make, the alcohol business has enabled me. Anyway, we might cut this in post. We'll cut this in post. But anyway, I was sitting at that bar looking at the cooler where they have like the different, like had like a Deep Eddy RTD. I didn't even know that existed. And I live in Texas. And I'm thinking like, I mean, is that going to be here in 5 years? Because, you know, like Jack and Coke. Who needs a premixed Jack and Coke? How hard is it to have a Jack Daniel's bottle at home and a Coke bottle? Like, do I really need that in a can? I mean, sure, just, you know, if fine, it's not in a can. You want to go to the beach, pour it in an Algene bottle, whatever. But you know, it's a little different with grapefruit, pomegranate, vodka crush. Like a gin and tonic is one thing, a Manhattan is another thing, you know.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know how it's going to look in 5 years. I think some brands will definitely still be around and have scale, but you know, the amount of SKUs in spirits RTDs that have cropped up is a ton, and I think most of them are very young. So that says something about the category, right? So
how about you, Jordan?
I think, and I'm not trying to talk y'all up here, but it's serious. I think Dogfish Head canned cocktails, and kind of what Jen was getting at, is in a much better spot than the vodka seltzers, because we've talked about this on the podcast before, but the price is really, really high for 4-packs, 8-packs, 12-packs of a vodka seltzer that some people can't tell the difference between Truly, High Noon, White Claw, and they're paying almost, you know, $25 a 12-pack. But when you have a canned cocktail with culinary ingredients, it justifies a higher price point.
Yeah, because you can't make it at home, right?
Yeah, I think for the Jack and Coke RTDs, or the just basically a seltzer that's made with vodka instead of a sugar-based, you know, alcohol brew, that people might say, I like it, but I don't know if I can afford to keep buying this the way I would Truly or White Claw. So I think your price point warrants, you know, or your culinary ingredients warrants a higher price point. So, and you're competing with the I see you and the other canned cocktails kind of in a different group than High Noon. You know, High Noon is fast consumption. It's just drinking, you know?
Yeah. It's a beer. It's almost a beer occasion, right?
Yeah.
Like
this is
high energy, volume.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I know we're getting close to time because I got to plan for Anna. I feel like I'm fucking asking the questions because I'm just curious if you guys are thinking about the industry. But I guess I should also ask, what do you think other than our shitty packaging? I promise it'll change when it comes to market. Although I gotta say, Jordan, this kind of looks like
was about to
main beer company.
Yeah,
coming at you.
I was gonna tell you, you know, I really like this white label with just the regular black font. Not a lot of color there. Yeah, it's nice. I think you might be onto something here.
But I think, Jen, I don't know if you decanted. I know you were going to just have one today, but you get the good. So the color you can tell.
Yeah, it's pretty.
You know, the real grapefruit juice, real pomegranate. But you guys do you like this? Is our newest crush. This will be a big focus for us next year. You'll like the liquid.
Nice.
And the crush pack is the new. You have a new crush variety pack coming out.
Yeah, they'll launch in February-ish. So bar cart will still be our number one priority SKU for canned cocktails, and we definitely see the canned cocktail drinker gravitating and accelerating movement towards bigger packages from 4s to 8s, 8s and 12s. So next year, you know, we'll have 2 variety 8s. The bar cart, they'll have rum, tequila, you know, in it. I'm sorry, rum drinks, vodka drinks in it, and then
okay, cool.
Whereas actually, wait, I'm wrong. So when we go to the crush package, so we'll launch a crush VP, and that will have gin, rum, and vodka crushes in it. Whereas the bar cart update refresh will be all different vodka cocktails. So we'll have 2 VPs that have variety pack, and then our leading SKU, the blood orange and mango crush, will also be a single 8-pack, because we definitely see that market moving towards bigger packages when we look at how much bar cart we're selling right now compared to 4-packs.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard the mixed variety packs with the different spirits are hot because it, people can have them at a party, that sort of thing. And if you like rum or if you like vodka or,
There's got to be
gin.
something in there that you don't like as much as something in there that you do like.
Right. Yeah.
It's like, which alcohol did you steal from your parents' bar that made you throw up? We got that in there. You want to stay away from that. But this other person stole this other alcohol from their parents, so we got that in there for them.
That should be there's your ad campaign, Sam. Seriously, who can't relate to that? In my case, it was like, I'm just gonna mix them all. So that doesn't my dad
it's always the white alcohols, whether it was gin, vodka, white rum, because that one was like you could dilute it with water. Your parents wouldn't know, it was never whiskey that made us.
Oh man.
Right?
Yeah. That's relatable. That is eminently relatable.
I don't know if that would pass our legal team scrutiny.
True. But you could wink and nod to it, right? Come up with a real fun metaphor. But this is great.
Glad you enjoy it. With 3 minutes. All right, power rounds question. Jordan's going first because Jen went first last time. I have to answer it too. Everyone's sick of the question in the beer space. What's the new IPA? What comes after IPA?
Oh.
If you have to decide in 1 minute, what comes after spirits-based RTDs in the Beyond Beer section? So it was seltzers. This year we're talking about spirits-based RTDs. 2 years from this day, what's the driver liquid in the Beyond Beer space?
Jordan first, right?
Damn. Maybe some sort of punch. I'm trying to think of I'm trying to think of what hasn't been done already.
No.
Yeah.
Tea, lemonade, maybe Gatorade will enter into the the bev alc.
Murder your sobriety. Yeah.
It could be. All right, my answer is gonna be a bunch of cool 1970s. Tarantino brings back cool 70s malt liquor ads, but figures out a way to upscale it for a malt liqueur, like a 6 ABV RTD, but it's spelled fancy. It's a malt liqueur and cocktail based on malt liquors.
Like Colt 45 or like
fancier, but okay, Jen. That's one of the homages in Tarantino's ad reel.
That's funny.
I like that.
It's very upscale.
Very.
Jen, take us out, Jen.
Oh man, I'm gonna go again with the packaging. It's gonna be something that looks super cool. Like what's like an Aperol Spritz, but it actually looks like a beautiful Aperol Spritz package. But I know they've tried that with things like, Copa, Divino, and things, the different, but something that's the right size and is really cool looking. I don't know. Other than that, who knows? But I think the packaging is going to have to evolve.
Yeah.
I take my...
Good. Jordan.
I take my answer back. I think it's going to be more of what we have seen and we're starting to see more of is spirits brands getting into malt. With
like the Fireball,
the malt-based Fireball, like Boston Beer is going to do with the Kentucky Coolers, just the Jim Beam. I think there's a lot of room for spirits to go into malt-based brands and just slap the name on there, and people don't know. Like,
I like that.
Malibu, those Malibu FMBs.
Right.
You shut your eyes, drink it.
Yeah, Leslie's cousin was drinking one, and Leslie is somewhat up to date on the beer industry through me. Yeah. She's like, I don't think that's actually Malibu. And she's like, no, it's definitely Malibu.
It's like, it says Malibu.
Just like Malibu.
Yeah.
So I think there's still a lot of juice for the spirits companies to squeeze, unfortunately. And
well, maybe not. Unfortunately, it's going to be fun.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to go into analog weekends.
Have fun.
Yeah, that sounds like a blast. Y'all have a great time.
Are the Beastie Boys going to be there?
I'll tell Mariah you said hi. On Monday, I'll send you the playlist from the album that we built the 2 beers around. All right.
Nice.
Great. Perfect. Thank you.
Thanks, Sam.
Always good.
Cheers. Absolutely.
Tell Harry we said hi.
Will do.
Yeah.